There was truly a point in my life where I felt like this is just adulthood. This is what it feels like. This is what it's supposed to be. I'm working a full-time job now. I'm in the workforce. I'm no longer in school. This must just be how everyone feels, but nobody talks about it. But the truth was, my body was literally begging me to slow down and begging me to pay attention to what it was trying to tell me. I just had no idea. Welcome to So On Brand, the podcast where wellness, mindset, and branding come together to empower ambitious female entrepreneurs and network marketers who are here to stand out and level up. I'm your host, Bailey Stewart, and I'm on a mission to help you build a brand that commands attention, establish authority, and step into the healthiest and wealthiest you. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, stand firm in your authenticity, and bring in some serious cash flow, then you're in the right place, babe. I'm so happy you're here. Let's do this. What's up, party people? Welcome back to the podcast. I know some of you guys have been waiting what feels like ages for this episode, for an episode in general, but we're back. We're back and we're in it. You guys, it's getting warm here. We're feeling good. The winter blues are like melting away from us. Our bodies are de-thawing. Life is good. Life is good, okay? But I'm really excited for today's episode. It's a little bit of a personal one, but it's something that I have been asked about time and time and time again because I've shared little tidbits about my journey throughout, figuring out what my body needed and how to get it out of fight or flight, and just this whole journey that I've been on in the last 5 years. It's been quite interesting to say the least. And so this story has been a long time coming because there was a season where I literally did not feel like myself. I thought that I was going crazy. I was exhausted all the time. I was constantly inflamed. My mood swings were insanity. My energy was up and down. My sleep was all over the place. I would lay in bed at night until 4 a.m., my mind just racing. My fatigue was crazy, which probably had a little bit to do with the lack of sleep. And my brain fog was at an all-time high. I had never experienced brain fog before. And I do not wish that on my worst enemy. My workouts weren't doing jack shit for me. It physically felt like I was crawling on my hands and knees up a mountain in a snowstorm with the wind just beating the snow against my face and no resources. That's the best way to explain how I felt at the worst of it. But you guys, I thought this was normal. That is the most effed up part about all of it, is that I literally gaslit myself for years, just saying it's all in your head. You are crazy. This is just life. You're not that tired. You just need to work harder. You just need to go harder. You just need to try harder. I gaslit myself for so long, especially because I was a personal trainer. I knew how to fuel my body. I knew what to do to get results. I knew how to eat right. I worked out all the time. I was healthy. Or so I thought. I just literally chalked it up to, this is life now. This must be adulthood and it freaking sucks, but here we go. And if you've been here for a minute, you guys know that I'm a trainer and I no longer work in the gym, but my main thing for work now is helping women figure out wellness regimens, routines, workouts, protocols to help them optimize their bodies. So these topics come up often, as I'm sure you can imagine. So many people have asked, how'd you get here? How do you know what you know? Are you a doctor? Are you this? Are you that? Did you go to school for this? How have you learned this? What have you been through? How did you get to the point where you're at with your fitness? These topics come up all the time. And first things first, I'm not a doctor, okay? And I don't pretend to be. I will not diagnose you. I will not prescribe you. That's not my jam. Prescriptions aren't my jam anyways, but that's a whole other thing. I will not diagnose you. But what I am is an open book, and what I am is an advocate for myself, and what I am is a psychopath when it comes to research. And I think it's very important to know your shit and not to just rely on these doctors to tell you what you need or what's wrong with you or what's lacking or whatever. There's a time and place for that, absolutely, but we have to be our own advocates. And so this whole story has taught me so much because I have chosen to allow it to teach me. And also I got to a point where I had no other choice but to figure it out because nobody else could figure it out for me. So I'm an open book and I will share anything with you. Like I said, maybe I can't diagnose you or tell you what's wrong with you, but I can maybe give you a starting point, or I can maybe give you a good idea. So today I want to walk you through my entire journey, okay? This might be a long one, it might be short, I'm not sure, it depends how fast I talk, but this is all based off my own experience. I'm going to walk you through my journey with birth control, with eating disorders, PCOS, adrenal fatigue, that all eventually led to me having this knowledge and this story essentially that I hope can help at least one person who's struggling in the way that I was. We're going to talk about what it looked like, how it came about, what actually helped me heal, what I maybe got wrong along the way, and the biggest lessons that I learned throughout all of it. And I know a lot of you guys that are listening to this podcast are building businesses, or you wear multiple hats, or you're moms. And I just want to start out by saying that your health is not optional. You absolutely cannot get results as a mother, as an employee, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a woman in the gym. You cannot get results anywhere when you're working on a burnt out body. It's just not going to happen. So that's the first thing I want to start with before we dive into everything. Because I think that, especially as women, when we put ourselves on the back burner for so long, it becomes second nature and we forget how important it is for us to pour into ourselves so that we can pour into others. So cliche, so cringe. I know, but like, it's the truth. It's just facts, you guys. So a little backstory. Start with part one. Okay, a little backstory. When I was younger, I was dealing with horrific symptoms from my cycle. Like to the point where I did not even want to go to school. Some days I couldn't even go to school. Like it was impossible. There was no way I was sitting in a desk for an hour, let alone 8. So my doctor told my mom to get me on birth control. So we did, and it fixed it. Okay. That's the facts. That's the backstory. And for the next 14 years, I would, for the most part, be consistently on birth control for that entire time. There was periods of time where I would go on and off of it because I knew that I didn't need to be on it, and I knew that it was not good for my body. And as you know, more of that research came to light and we started to hear more and people started to talk about it more, I really didn't want to be on it. But every time I'd get off of it, I noticed that things weren't working properly in my body. I would go months and months without a cycle. My hormones would be crazy. I would feel like a literal sociopath. And so I'd go to the doctor, I would tell them what's happening, they'd put me back on it, and the cycle would begin again until I decided another time that I wanted to get off of it. I probably came off of it about 3 or 4 different times, and each time I went off of it for a longer period. But each time I would again realize like my body is not doing what it's meant to do. My body is not responding how it should be. These natural processes that my woman body is supposed to be going through is not happening. And I just knew in my head, I'm like, me and Cole are married. And at some point, I'm going to want to have a baby and get off of this for good. So why am I staying on it to mask these issues, to just have a Band-Aid cover up, when eventually one day I'm going to have to come to terms with what's going on and figure out a root issue anyway? And for the first time in forever, it finally made sense. I was like, this shit is horrible for me. It's completely changing the way my body does things. And so then when I come off of it, my body can't perform those tasks on its own. It's crazy. And listen, again, I'm not a doctor. And, you know, you might have your own opinions on birth control. I'm not here to fight with anybody. I'm not here to say that it's never a good idea. I'm not here to say that for some people, maybe it's not necessary. For me, I wanted to be off of it, and I wanted to be off of it for good. And you guys, I was like 26. And so I'm like, okay, we've been married for 3 years. Like, we probably should, you know, be thinking about these things. So I officially decided to get off of it for good and to not let these doctors strong arm me into getting back on them when I came to them asking for help about why my body wasn't doing things correctly when I was off of it. And you guys, my body freaked the F out. Like actually, the first 4 months were fine, but literally on 4 months to the exact day that I got off of this pill, my body went into full-blown freak out mode. Like, I can't even explain to you the way that I felt mentally, the way I felt physically, my emotions. Like, I literally felt like my world was ending. And physically too, I was going through some of the most uncomfortable, embarrassing, frustrating things because it was almost like my body was detoxing all of the bullshit that it had been consuming for 14 mother effing years. Like, talk about frustration, you guys. Like, I'm literally getting heated thinking about it because it was such a painful time in my life. It was so horrible. And I know I'm not the only one who's gone through this because I've talked to so many of you guys that are like, girl, same. When I got off of it, my body tweaked. I wigged out. Like, I don't even know who I was at that time. Literally same. And again, like, I just get heated thinking about it because why is there not more research on this? Why is there not more of a conversation before doctors are putting young girls on this shit? Again, a conversation for another time, but like, my brain will never be able to comprehend it. So that led to just a whole deep dive, like a whole rabbit hole, you guys, of me trying to figure out what was wrong with me, how to address it, and also how to address it in a natural way. Because again, you can go into a doctor, they can pump you full of meds and it can fix it. But what's going to happen then? Some of those meds are going to cause other problems that can only be fixed by other meds. Some of those meds are going to cause problems that are long lasting. Some of those meds aren't going to work at all. Like, I don't want to be in this cycle of like, take this because it addresses this, but then it's going to cause this so that you can take this. Like, I refuse to be part of that system. I just won't. So I go to the doctor and I tell them the whole story. I lay it all out and I said, I will not get back on the pill. So don't even try to bring that up to me. We need to, explore different options. And so we do a bunch of blood work, we do a bunch of tests, and they tell me that they'll reach out to me if anything looks abnormal or concerning on the tests. I don't hear back. So I'm like, cool, okay, I assume everything's fine. About a year later, I am getting ready to go see a different type of doctor and I need my records sent. So I called the doctor's office that told me they would contact me if anything was wrong, and they had no record of me being at their office. And I was like, I came to you guys for over 3 years. I was a patient for 3 years. What do you mean? So it turns out they had like this system transfer, and some of the patients got lost in the old system and not transferred over to the new system, one of which being me. Okay. So we're on the phone and I'm like, oh, no biggie, like whatever, fill me in. What does my file even say? Like, it's been a year since I've been in, right? So I can, just be prepared for my new doctor and all these things, right? The reason I was switching is because I was going to start going to a naturopath. Okay. So the girl on the phone proceeds to tell me, well, because of your PCOS and because of this and because of that. And I'm like, whoa, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, because of this abnormal test, da, 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 da. And she goes on and on and on. And I'm like, wait, PCOS, abnormal test? What are you talking about? Like, I'm so lost. What do you mean? And a year later, I get told that I have PCOS, that I had an abnormal pap and all this stuff, and I have cysts on my ovaries and da-da-da-da, this whole thing. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I was livid, you guys. I was livid. I'm like, I was diagnosed with this on paper a year ago and never told about it. Like, what do you mean? So I asked her to explain to me like what PCOS is and all this stuff. She gets me on the phone with the doctor, and the doctor is literally in such a hurry, you guys. Like, oh my gosh, you guys, I could literally go down a whole rabbit hole discussing just this one part, but we won't for time's sake. But the doctor's in such a hurry that she's like, oh, yeah. So basically this means that, you have cysts on your ovaries and this and that. And also it could be really hard for you to get pregnant and potentially lead to infertility. Okay, I got to go. Bye. I said, oh, thanks so much. What the hell do I do with that information? I was like, okay, cool. Thanks. So there's diagnosis 1. Okay. I was so frustrated, you guys, not only with the way that this happened, how it came about, the way that I was treated, just like the care in general surrounding that. Like, I know things happen, but I was beyond livid, you guys. And then I was beyond livid because, again, me being I'm such an advocate for myself, and I want to know the reasonings behind things and root causes and alternative options for things. Like, I'm just not somebody, I never will be somebody. And this is in any aspect of life, not just medicine, but like, I am not someone who is going to be told something one time by somebody who's supposedly in a position of power and say, sounds good, without doing any of my own research. I will never be that person in any facet of life. And so I go, moving forward to research PCOS and like what it means and all this stuff, okay? So then I'm already frustrated, and I get more frustrated because there's such a lack of information. And then also as I'm talking about it with my girlfriends and just people online and whatever, I realize how many women have been diagnosed with this who also have no freaking clue what it even means. I still don't really know what it means, if I'm being completely honest. And for some women, it's like a very easy diagnosis. It's like, yes, for sure you have this because of XYZ. For some women, it's more of like an obscure thing where it's like, we think you might have some symptoms of it, and because of XYZ, it does lead to that, but we don't really know. Like, it's a really frustrating diagnosis, to say the least, and I'm sure many of you women listening to this can agree. And like I said, I'm no doctor, but it does seem to be heavily overdiagnosed. Or maybe it's not overdiagnosed, but something perhaps in our food is leading to it. Something perhaps they are feeding us. Toxins perhaps that we're exposed to. Don't get me started, because that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down. But I finally met an angel doctor who actually went through my labs with me and explained what was happening and how we could move forward and approach the situation, essentially. And I was very adamant that I didn't go on medication. Like, I did not want to go on medication, which, by the way, there's not really a med for PCOS anyway, at least not that I know of. But at the time, I was also working with an esthetician. I was working with a dermatologist because I started dealing with adult acne. You guys, it was crazy. And all of those people, like my whole team, was very like on the train of like, we're doing this holistically, as natural as possible, no meds, we're changing our diet, and whatever. And we were doing the whole 9 yards, okay? So it took about 1.5 years, maybe 2, to address all this shit with my hormones. Like, it was a very long journey and a very slow journey, which can be, frustrating even further. But we finally got to the root cause, which was the adrenal fatigue, which totally tanked my hormones, which then led to me having PCOS-like symptoms. Again, could I have PCOS? For sure. I don't know if that diagnosis was accurate or if it was just based on symptoms the doctor saw that were due to an underlying issue that the doctor didn't want to look into. I don't know. Okay? But my cortisol was beyond high. Like, beyond high. My testosterone was low. My estrogen was high. I was estrogen dominant because of all the years of birth control. It was insane. And adrenal fatigue looks different for everybody. But for me, it looked like extreme fatigue, extreme irritability, like mood swings like crazy, and brain fog like nobody's business, like I talked about in the beginning. Like, I've never experienced something like this. And it's crazy because a lot of the symptoms were stemming from the hormone imbalances that were caused by the adrenal fatigue, but the adrenal fatigue was caused likely by years and years and years of over-exercising and under-eating. And I did that for quite a long time. I struggled for years with just disordered eating and overtraining, under-eating, binge eating, body dysmorphia, like, you guys name it. It was like a really weird period of time after I stopped being an athlete and was trying to kind of find myself, and I was really into the wellness stuff, but I wasn't educated. It literally got to the point, you guys, where I would track my food so I knew exactly how many calories I was intaking, so that way at the gym I would make sure that my calorie burn equaled that. Like, I wanted to like cancel them out. Crazy to think about now. Like, it's really, really sad. Like, I even tried to make my workouts as late in the day as possible so that I wouldn't have to worry about eating multiple meals after the gym that I would then have to account for in my workout the next day. Like, it was so sad, you guys. So sad. But as I healed from that and I got educated, I started going through my personal training courses and becoming educated in this world and understanding like what that type of yo-yoing and binge eating and under eating and overtraining can actually do to your body. And that helped me so much, and actually understand like what was happening internally when this was going on. But again, I was still, newly in the workforce, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was going out all the time and working out still, even without feeling my body properly. And it just continued to take a toll on my body because I never actually addressed it. I just was like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I healed, mentally from a lot of those issues, and then still wasn't super like addressing the issue, just kind of moving on from the issue, if that makes sense. And so my body was still going through all of the shit that I put it through from previously. So there was diagnosis number 2, adrenal fatigue, which is funny how they kind of, led into each other. So I tried everything, you guys. And when I say everything, I mean everything, like everything. I pushed harder. I worked out harder. I ate less. I did that whole thing. That just furthered along my issues. I tried to eat more, reverse diet, learned about macros, hired a macro coach. That was decent for a while, but then I became obsessive about the numbers, and that wasn't good. And nothing, absolutely nothing worked until I started looking at my body as a tool that was meant to house me. My body is my home. Your body is your home. And once I started looking at it like that from an overall perspective versus like, how can I get shredded? How can I be smaller? How can I be skinnier, thinner, prettier, whatever? And started looking at like, how can I optimize this so that my home is safe and my nervous system is regulated? That's when things started to change for me. And I focused on what's going in my body that isn't from food. What's going in my body from lotions, from my detergents, from candles, environmental factors. Like I really started looking at what was going into my body as a whole. I was on multiple supplements that weren't doing anything for me. They were completely irrelevant. I was eating, but not enough. And I was working out, but I really needed to slow down. I really needed to give my body a break to allow it to even get out of fight or flight so that then we could move forward. And I honestly needed to slow down to speed up. That is the ultimate, that's what had to happen. And for athletes, I'm sure a lot of you ladies can relate to, that is freaking hard. That is hard because I wanted to train like an athlete. I wasn't an athlete anymore, but I wanted to train like one. I wanted to stay, up on my game. I wanted to stay in that world and keep, grinding. And I loved the hustle of sports and of being an athlete, but my body, that is not what it needed at that time. And I had to really come to terms with that because it was tough. It was really, really tough. And it's not always about more. Sometimes it's truly about letting your body just get back to homeostasis. So I actually lost a ton of weight throughout an entire year of me doing this whole slow down to speed up process. I completely stopped doing HIIT. I completely stopped doing any cardio other than walking on an incline. I cut out all heavy lifting except twice a week. And then I focused specifically on Pilates 2 times a week and walking on an incline for an entire year. And I loved Pilates. That was my jam. But I really missed the intensity of heavy lifting and HIIT and CrossFit style workouts, Olympic lifting. I missed that. But it's just not what my body needed at the time. And so I lost a ton of weight during that time, some of which was muscle. But a lot of it, you guys, was inflammation. The amount of water retention I was holding on to is actually insane. The amount that I lost and the time period that I lost it in just goes to show that my body finally was it's almost like I was holding my breath, and the longer I held my breath, the more I would blow up and the more I would blow up. And then me stopping doing all this intense workouts and stopping the dieting and stopping all these supplements, it's almost like my body finally was able to breathe. And when I breathed, all the air that was puffing up my body left. All the inflammation that was puffing up my body, all the water and salt and whatever the hell else, stress, cortisol that I was holding on to, finally was able to release. That's what it felt like. And it was a really, really crazy experience because I've never been stick thin. I've always been, more of an athletic build. But for the first time in forever, I was teeny tiny and I didn't like it. But during that time period, I also felt myself sleeping better a little bit. I felt myself having a little bit more energy. There was still a lot of stuff that needed to be addressed, but things were actually starting to change. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what needed to happen. So once my body was out of fight or flight, I could actually focus on helping it heal. Because one thing about adrenal fatigue and one thing about hormonal disruptions in general is if your body is not in a place to benefit off of the good things you're doing for it, it's not going to benefit off the good things you're doing for it. And I was in such crazy fight or flight. My cortisol, like I said, was at such a high point. I had to focus on those internal factors first so that my body was in a state where it could accept and benefit from the good that I wanted to do for it. And that's where things can get so frustrating as specifically as a woman, is when you are doing all the right things and nothing's coming of it, because there's something internally that needs to be addressed for those things to even matter. And that's frustrating. So throughout that entire year of me, really slowing down to speed up, a couple other things that I did to really focus on internally just getting my body back to homeostasis and getting my nervous system regulated. So I actually did a full overhaul of any endocrine disruptor in my life, any high inflammatory food that I was eating, and I started going to bed and waking up at the same exact time every single day for an entire year. Now, when I say endocrine disruptors and inflammatory foods, I want to say, if you dive into this world, it is extremely, extremely overwhelming. And it honestly is pretty frustrating too, to see how much bullshit is added to our food and to just things that don't need it. But if you decide to dive down into this rabbit hole, just take it one step at a time. I am a sociopath, and I literally threw out everything in our fridge, everything in our cabinets, everything that I had beauty-wise that was an endocrine disruptor. And it was expensive. And so I don't recommend doing it that way, but I was just so over it and so done that I didn't see another option for myself. So my biggest tip to you guys is, if you do dive down this rabbit hole, take it one day at a time and cut out one thing at a time, because I did an overhaul of my life overnight. And it was tough, not only for me, but also for Cole, because there was a lot of things that we changed overnight that, wasn't necessarily bad that he changed it to, but he also didn't ask for that, So it was definitely a weird season, but it can be overwhelming. So when I say hormone disruptors or endocrine disruptors, I mean, I was taking a look at things like candles, fragrances, laundry detergent, makeup, lotions, stuff like that, air fresheners. And then for high inflammatory foods, the things that I cut out, and again, this might not be the same for everybody. I do know that peanuts are high inflammatory for everyone, and so are seed oils. But those are two things that I cut out. And then I also cut out shellfish, whey protein, and soy. And the reason I cut out soy is because I was extremely estrogen dominant. Again, that might not be something that everybody has to do. And some people are able to do that for a time period, and then they can go back and live life like they never cut it out. But I currently still, years and years later, don't eat any of those things. And when I tell you peanut butter used to be my favorite food, I still every day crave it. So there's that. But from there, after cutting out all of those things, I did some heavy metal detoxes, I did some cleanses, so many different things, you guys. And like I said, I lost so much weight. And from there, I was desperate to build my body back up. I wanted to gain muscle. I wanted to get strong again. Like I said, I've never been like a string bean. I've always been like a more muscular build, athletic type build. And I wanted that back so bad. I literally felt like a little toothpick. So I was on the hunt. My doctor recommended HRT. I did that for a second. Abso-freaking-lutely hated it. Cut it out after like 3 seconds. And once again, proved to myself that the more natural route is the way for me to go. And that is when these all natural peptides actually fell into my lap. And, the peptide conversation had been happening for a while. I was watching it. I was intrigued, but again, just really, really not sure. And after going through all of that stuff, I was just so cognizant of what I was putting in my body. And I was really on this trajectory of like, if it's not from the ground, it's not going to my body. You know what I mean? Like, that's truly like kind of where I was trying to go. I started using these natural peptides. Within 7 weeks, I had gained 5 pounds of muscle and dropped body fat. It was the craziest thing. It was literally like the on switch for my body was just like turned on, and it wasn't on for a real long time. So it was so cool to see those changes happening. And it's like my body was like, okay, girl, I see all this work you're putting in. Now let me make it actually worth it for you. It was the coolest thing. And you guys, it takes me a lot to gain muscle, like a lot. I have to eat. I gotta eat. And I also gotta train really, really hard till failure, which I do anyway, but it takes a lot. And so to see that much muscle put on in such a short period of time when my workouts were nothing crazy, like that was a really big win for me. And here's what I noticed, you guys. I had less food noise. I didn't really care about, sweets cravings or anything like that. I just wanted really like nutrient dense foods. I had so much energy, like off the walls energy, no midday crash. I didn't have a hard time waking up in the morning. I didn't have a hard time going to bed at night. My workouts felt so much better. I felt strong in the gym. I felt energized in the gym. I looked forward to going to the gym. Like, it was insane. And you guys, I could talk about this for a whole nother hour of how I felt and what went on, but I won't. But I just shout this because I know so many women who feel like this and they stay stuck because A, they either don't know that something like this exists, or B, they're too scared to try it. And I understand. I was in that position as well. After you try so many things and so many things don't work, you get burnt out from spending time and spending money on shit that doesn't work. It is so frustrating. And so to feel this like on switch kind of turn on and this light bulb kind of turn on in my body, I was like, okay, wait. This is real. This is legit. And don't get me wrong, you guys, like my PCOS is still there if I even still have it, but like hormonal imbalance symptoms and stuff like that. And, that's all still there. I still have to focus on my hormones. I have to be cognizant of endocrine disruptors. I still have to check my thyroid. And, I still have to work hard to have this balanced body and regulated nervous system. But wow, did things become a whole lot easier and simpler when I added those in. And my biggest lesson for you guys, I'm not here to just like tell my whole story and be like, here's what happened to me. My purpose for this is to share it because so many of you guys see me sharing bits and pieces on Instagram about like what I've gone through, how these products have helped me. And, first of all, if I'm going to be like out here sharing products and, you deserve to know like the background of that. But also I want you to know that if you're someone who's feeling stuck or if you're in that like hamster wheel right now of your hormones and imbalances and cycle issues or PCOS, or if you also are dealing with, anything of that sort, it can be fixed and it can be fixed naturally. And you don't have to run to the next doctor. You don't have to run to get back on birth control. You don't have to run to start injections. Like, there is a natural way to do this. It might take a little longer, but if you find the right support tools, you can speed along the process in a natural, healthy, sustainable way. And that's just something that I wish more women knew. And our bodies are smart, you guys. If we could just freaking stop trying to micromanage our bodies and manipulate our bodies into doing what we want them to do versus supporting them so that they can just do what they're meant and created to do better, our lives would change. Our lives would change drastically. Our bodies are meant to keep us safe. They are our homes. They're meant to heal us. They're meant to protect us. That's literally what they're designed to do. But if your body is not responding, it's not because you need to do more or cut out more calories or work out harder, longer, more days, whatever. Sometimes we just need to allow it to do its job better and stop adding all the bullshit. I know that they say supplements aren't necessary, and in some cases that's probably correct. And 20 years ago, I would even say that's probably accurate. Unfortunately, in today's world, our food is working against us. The healthcare system is meant to keep us stuck and sick and so that they can profit. The toxins that we are introducing knowingly and unknowingly are wreaking havoc on our bodies. It's actually astronomical the amount of toxins that the average woman is exposed to daily. And on top of that, the soil that our food grows in isn't even what it used to be. So yeah, 20 years ago, we might not have needed supplementation. 20 years ago, we might not have needed help. Today, I'm going to go ahead and argue that we do. There's gaps and a whole lot of them, and they need to be bridged. So if you're feeling burnt out, it's not you, it's the support or lack thereof. Your body's not broken, you can fix it. It just takes time and every little thing. Think of your body as a bank account. You want to continue to put deposits in. There's some things that withdraw, right? Even workouts, they withdraw. Dieting, it might withdraw. If we have illnesses, it might withdraw. Toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis, that withdraws. So me and Cole, our big focus is like, what can we do inside of our four walls in our home that can lessen the impact? If we can be really, really specific about what we allow inside of our physical homes and our body as a home, then what we are unknowingly exposed to on the outside has less of an impact. It's not about being perfect. It's not about completely overhauling your life overnight. It's just about those small daily deposits because we know withdrawals are going to happen. And whether we choose to or don't choose to, it happens. So we just have to be very intentional about picking what are those little daily deposits going to be that lessen the impact, that help combat the impact, that help lessen the blow. That's the most important thing. Decide on one thing and find someone maybe who's been through what you've been through so you can talk it through with them. Again, they don't have to be a doctor to share with you their story. They don't have to be a doctor to help you have a starting point. And if you're like me, especially if you're like me and your doctors didn't even know what to tell you, they couldn't tell me what was going on or how to address it other than get on birth control. So just one decision at a time. You deserve to feel strong. You deserve to feel energized. You deserve to sleep good at night. You deserve to wake up excited for the day. You deserve to have a clear mind. And you deserve to feel good and happy. And getting to that point is absolutely possible, but you just have to also be your own advocate. You have to also not look at everything as a scam. You have to also not look at everything as matter of fact. Question everything, do your own research, find someone who's been in your shoes, and just pick one thing and stick to it. That's another issue that I see is so many people, they're desperate. And listen, I get it. I've been there. You're so desperate for results that you're willing to try anything, and sometimes that turns into trying everything, and that can worsen the issue. If our body is overwhelmed already with just performing daily tasks, imagine adding all these other things to the body's receptors and things that it has to process and understand. That just slows it down at performing. That just slows it down at knowing exactly what the root cause is and how to heal it. And even if your story is different than mine, reach out. I am an absolute open book. I will tell you all the things that I did. And if they work for you, fantastic. If they don't, fantastic. If it's relevant, that's great. And if it's not, it's okay. But sometimes all we need is another person to be like, hey, I've been there. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I hope that this story, helped at least one of you. And, people ask me all the time, like, how'd you get to this point? And it's like, I've been through a lot of shit to learn this stuff. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way on a lot of it. But now I have something that has worked and I share it because it has worked for me. It has worked for so many other people. And I refuse to not talk about it. When I share my bits and pieces of my story on Instagram, the amount of DMs I get of people relating is just insane. And so I really wanted there to be a place where I could really just tell my whole story. I could lay it all out for you, and it could just live here so that other people don't feel alone. Because I think that was the biggest thing too going through this, is that not only could my doctors not tell me what was wrong with me, but they also couldn't tell me what to fix, and they also couldn't tell me what to do. And then I also had nobody else in my life going through the same thing. And so it felt very lonely. And if I can help one person, that's fantastic. If I can give someone a starting point, that's fantastic. But if I can at least just make someone not feel alone, even better, because that was a really shitty place to be. So I hope this helped. I'm going to link everything that I talked about. I'm going to link all of my all natural non-toxic swaps as well, so you guys can see what I've been using in terms of cleaners and detergents and fragrances and the peptides that totally changed my life. I'm linking all of it so that you guys can have access to it. But honestly, at the end of the day, just reach out. I'm an open book, and I will have a conversation, and I can steer you in the right direction of where to start too, because I know that also seeing all those links and all the swaps that I've made could potentially be overwhelming. So I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to So On Brand. I hope you loved this episode. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with your business besties, put it on the gram, all the things, you know the drill. I'll see you guys next time.